Hi everyone, I am Lotus of Judah, 1111 Ministry International. Thanks again for being here. You could be anywhere, yet you choose to be here with me today. So do me a tiny favor, like and subscribe as you enter. I really appreciate it. And we're going to go ahead and get into this topic, which has been trending in regarding to the TikTok app going dark or code for basically, they're wanting to get rid of the app. Okay. That's yet to be determined, but they're saying it is going to happen on Sunday. And the correlation between Xiaohongshu, which also is known as Red Note or the Little Red Book app, okay, and why there are so many TikTok refugees, as they're calling them, flocking to Xiaohongshu. Okay. Now, the correlation between this to me is a bit eerie. Okay, this is definitely representing a digital exodus, like a cultural exodus per se, when it comes to there's a point of contention that a lot of people are realizing that there's things that has been hidden in media intentionally, and that people are beginning to flock elsewhere. They're beginning to realize that there's things that they can really pick up on just by going across the pond, just by connecting with people throughout the world. At some point, there was a lot of people that just had this assumption that being in the Americas, that you're like you have first world problems, like you're the elite. But come to find out, as people are connecting more so with people in different countries, they're realizing that America is actually the third world country. Okay, and this has been a stark reminder of, why there's a massive campaign of psych ops going on, psychological operations, okay, keeping people pacified with all these products, consumerism, drama, when really you're being controlled. So let's get into this. I'm gonna go ahead and share some notes that I have in regard to this, because the correlation between TikTok and Xiaohongshu is completely different, okay? And this is definitely getting people to realize that you can't just take on everything that is being peddled to you. And so now they have been considering people that are leaving TikTok, going elsewhere, as TikTok refugees, okay? And this migration is because people are not wanting to be censored. They're not wanting to be suppressed anymore. And they're also realizing that the government has a strong hold on not only controlling the narrative, but trying to really get people to just be mindless users, mindless consumers. And as people are beginning to look abroad, like for instance, there are some people that have shared their homes in China, and these people have heated tile floors and a whole host of other amenities, and they're paying equivalent to US dollars like $80 a month. Okay, they have homes where they have indoor, not only pools, but I mean, they just have a lot of things that people would be spending an arm and a leg for if they were to get it here. And so that's definitely getting people to really challenge the things that they have been indoctrinated to believe. A lot of people, dare I say, it is what it is, but a lot of people that consider themselves American, they had this sense of superiority, that they were better than all these other people, when come to find out, many people are just indoctrinated. Okay, a lot of people elsewhere have it so much better. And so let's go ahead and get further into the notes here, because now we're beginning to see that this is also correlating with biblical prophecy and also the erosion of control. So from a biblical perspective, the loss of narrative control, which is why they're scrambling. Because I used to wonder, like, why is it that they're putting so much hype around TikTok? But TikTok is not an American-owned app, okay? And so being that it's not, it doesn't have the level of censorship that, say, for instance, Bookface, you get what I mean, or IG. I have to use codes here, so just follow through what I'm saying. These apps per se are American owned, so therefore they don't necessarily have the type of openness of what is actually going on. And they're wanting to really get people in this corralled or herd like mentality to further control them. And I'm also going to correlate how this is also something that has been kind of alluded to in the Netflix film called Leave the World Behind, which is also based on a book. Okay, so let me go ahead and get further into this. And so, again, when it comes to the narrative, now we have been conditioned to believe that all these other governments have their citizens under mass control, when really, I mean, that could be true to a certain extent, but people are having a awakening, an eye-open experience that is actually the dynamic that we have been under. And so, as I mentioned about the biblical perspective of all this coming to pass, scripture often speaks of these coming days, the days where there's going to not only be division, disintegration, and also confusion, but the sense of centralized power. Okay, now this is based on scriptures Daniel 2:41 and 43, and also Matthew 24:10 through 12. And these particular scriptures speaks about how there's going to come a time where things are going to be rolled out, where people are going to be forced into a sense of allegiance. Okay? Interpreted too in scripture about the beast system, especially when it comes to Revelation, because Revelation 13 describes a world where there's this unified system of control that begins to arise. And unfortunately, this is what we're seeing. Okay, the current sense of controlling the narrative, especially when it comes to things that relate to government, that is also trickling down to, day-to-day living, is prophetic. Prophecy is coming to pass. And it also signifies there's a precursor for these things to happen. Okay, a period where there is the normalization of chaos. Okay, also I mentioned in a previous share in regarding to the late Yuri Bezmenov, who went against his own system when he began to realize that it was really causing people to be conditioned to accept being controlled, being manipulated, and in essence being made into a slave. Okay, and so this is what people are beginning to realize when it comes to this so-called ban. Now let's go ahead and get into the correlation of Leave the World Behind. Now this particular film is something, to me, it has so many different undertones, a lot of symbolism. And for those that are seers, you may be able to see some things, but even for me, I had to watch it a couple of times to get the full scope of some of the things that they were talking about. Now, in this film, it's going to explore the mistrust of the GOVT and also a sense of societal collapse, okay? And throughout this film, although it's focusing on several different characters, everybody's going through their own level of like an existential crisis, okay? Because the systems are breaking down, okay? And they're having to look at things in a completely different way. So, especially when it comes to this film and then correlating it with the TikTok refugees and the Xiaohongshu, or the little red book or red note app. Okay, this is how people are beginning to realize that this digitized narrative has all been a lie. A lot of things that the government has put forth has not necessarily been true. There's a lot of things that are featured on these apps that you will never see on mainstream media. And so therein lies the problem. They're not wanting you to see the truth of what's actually happening in the world. They're not wanting you to see how things are correlating and the hidden hands that are at play. And so as we also focus on the parallels of these particular platforms and how they're not only fostering a sense of connection to people that actually seek truth and actually do not want to be controlled and free, this is a threat. They're seeing it as you are disconnecting yourself from the matrix per se. Okay? And that's not what they want. They want you to be in a position where you're controlled, you're told what to do, and you abide by it. And so it's not just, a fun app to dance and have fun and joke on, people are really getting to the meat of the problems. People are really coming to the point where they're not only getting that, but they're being freed, because in these apps per se, people are able to monetize, okay, through processing their different thoughts. People are able to really get to the bag. They're able to find a level of financial freedom. And the elite does not want that. They don't want you to be in a position where you can not be overworked and just so caught up in the matrix where you don't even have time to think to get out of it. Okay, they don't want that. And so I also want to share this too in regarding to the struggle for narrative control and how this is relating to these TikTok refugees and the Xiaohongshu, and also relating this to biblical prophecy when it comes to leave the world behind. So these particular platforms are allowing people to connect in so many different ways at rapid speed, and they're beginning to realize that there's more connection there than there is division. Because another thing that is eye-opening is that a lot of people, and I'm just going to say it how I feel, but there's a lot of people that just assume that if they didn't have the complexion for protection, then they're cool. They thought that, if they had a lighter hue, that somehow they do not have the experience being marginalized. They didn't have to experience being controlled. And now through these apps, a lot of people of different demographics follow me. They're realizing that they're no different. They're realizing that they too are being treated as heard, basically. And it's a major awakening. Just because you may have a certain skin tone does not mean you're going to be exempt from being controlled and being treated as such. And so this is a narrative that they're wanting to shut down and they're wanting to get ahead of, but it's inevitable. It's happening. We're experiencing a major sense of awakening. And those that are asleep, okay, they're being rudely awakened. And also when we get into this whole phenomenon that's happening when it comes to the TikTok algorithm and the ability for people to actually be freed from, hold on just a moment. Yeah, the TikTok algorithm and how it is actually disturbing the whole power structure of what it is, state approved messages. So basically, they put out certain things, certain news feeds, but when you're on these apps, you're getting to see the truth of what's actually happening. And then people that actually are able to think outside of the box, they realize that this is just a scramble for control, which is why they're wanting people to focus more so on the propaganda they put out, opposed to you actually seeing the truth of what's happening from a worldwide standpoint when it comes to these platforms. Okay. And as we get further into the whole fragmentation of truth when it comes to biblical perspective, and how even the elite, even the things that they're putting out there, they're also playing into biblical prophecy being fulfilled. Okay, so TikTok and the correlation with Xiaohongshu, okay, these are aligning with them wanting you to be confused. They want you to feel that you got to slave away and this is just what it is. When you're stepping outside of that and you're seeing through these apps, people in different parts of the world, they're actually being treated like human. They're actually being able to exist without being in worry mode. Okay. And this is something that is a part of scripture when it comes to Daniel 2:41 through 43. Okay. Double check this for your own self. But this is describing a kingdom divided. Okay. It speaks about iron mixed with clay, strong in parts, but inherently unstable. Now, this also is symbolizing the modern world that we're seeing, where there's a sense of traditional power structures that are being weakened. And they're being weakened in the sense that people were not prepared for it, because it's coming from a digital standpoint. It's coming from technology. So the same technology that they want to use to control, the same technology that they think that they can just be in a sense of basically like undisciplined power that they have at their hands, is being used against them. And it's something they did not bargain for. It's something they never considered. And so biblically, this is mirroring the passages like in Amos 8 and 11, which warns about famine of hearing the words of the Lord. Think about that. Okay? People are so far removed from God in this day and age that now their in droves are being guided back towards God, because they're realizing that going the way of the world is keeping them in a fallen state, which is why the film Leave the World Behind is really getting us to the core of our inability to discern the truth from what it is that we have been propelled to believe. A lot of things that were completely wrong. So in conclusion, okay, I just want to wrap this up, but this cultural and digital shift in the form of a digital and cultural exodus when it comes to just thinking that you have to be divisive, that you have to be in constant like a constant war when it comes to genders, because that's a big thing. They want male to be against female, vice versa. They want people to be confused, because out of confusion comes control. And remember, scripture speaks about God is not the author of confusion. Okay, so it is not of God. And so as these biblical prophecies are coming to pass, the world may seem to be descending further and further in chaos. Okay, truth is something that is going to overstand all that. Truth is something that is going to overcome all of that. And so even though they may provide deceptions per se, they can't last. And these digital platforms, in the form of TikTok, in the form of YT, YouTube, and all the other ones, even X that formerly was Twitter, these things have a way of eating away at the power structure that wants to control, that wants to divide, that wants to promote degeneracy. Because what we see in scripture is this going to happen. This is going to come to pass, but the Most High is going to overcome all of that, okay? And it's happening through all of us. There is definitely a sense of an existential crisis that's happening, but people are becoming spiritually aware that in order for things to change, the change requires internally. All right. So even though they're trying to erode that truth and they're trying to keep people controlled, it's not going to prevail. All right. That's all I have for now. Until next time, guys. See you later.